Hello, romance writers. Welcome back to Write with Heart, where today we're going to be talking about preparing and surviving National Novel Writing Month, more affectionately known as NaNoWriMo. Now, if you've never heard of NaNoWriMo, it is a challenge to write 50,000 words in the month of November, and it seems like a very daunting task, and writing at that pace generally is thought to lead to very poor writing. So you might be wondering, why bother write like a madman just to get a bad draft? Well, the first reason is for bragging rights. I mean, it is a feat to write 50,000 words in 30 days. The second reason to try it out is by the end of that 30 days, you have completed a draft, or at least have 50,000 words of a draft of a novel. Now, I really can't help myself here. I need to put in a little bit of an aside because there seems to be this idea that doing NaNoWriMo just leads to a bad draft, as if any other drafts aren't bad. And I find it kind of strange that when it comes to writing, it is the only task in the world for which doing it regularly and quickly is considered bad. If you were to play the piano every day consistently, that would be considered good. If you practice a language every day, that is seen as good. But for some reason, writing every day and finishing a book in a month is bad. For some reason, taking an entire year to write a book is better. But people who take an entire year to write a book generally aren't writing every day. And in fact, perhaps if you condense the time they spent in taking that year to write their book, you would discover that what they really spent was a month or maybe 2 months. So why is it being able to write quickly gets such a bad rap when almost anything else you were to do regularly and consistently every day would be considered good? Now, I actually have 2 thoughts on this. The first is that many authors who write quickly, doing what's called rapid release, putting a book out every 3 to 6 weeks, is in the romance genre, which is already considered the lowest of the low of the genres, despite the fact that it outsells every other genre. My second thought about this is that the negative Nellies seem to think that fast writers simply write and then publish without bothering to revise or edit, which is absolutely not true. While a book might be written in a month, it isn't usually published the next month. It goes through a process of editing and formatting and pre-sale. Any book that is published today was likely written 2 or more months before. Okay, so my little rant over the negative idea of writing fast is over. Let's get back to NaNoWriMo. If you're somebody who is serious about wanting to write a book, National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo, can help you jumpstart your effort. There are many NaNoWriMo participants who have parlayed their 50,000 words, after editing, of course, into a published book, including Sarah Gruen's Water for Elephants and Erin Morgenstern's The Night Circus. Now, writing 50,000 words in 30 days is a daunting task, particularly in November when the holiday season is in full swing, but it can absolutely be done. And to be successful during NaNoWriMo, there are some things that you can do in advance to prepare, and here are my tips for doing just that. The first thing I would do is register and learn about NaNoWriMo. I will have a link to the website. It is free to join, And they have a bunch of cool tools and resources, including a prep plan that you can go through. The second thing to do to prepare for NaNoWriMo would be to begin thinking about your book and even plotting it out. Although it is considered cheating to begin writing before 12:01 a.m. on November 1st, you can jot down your ideas. You can do the research and make your outline. And even if you're a pantster, who is somebody who doesn't have a plot but basically writes by the seat of their pants, you can still think about the book that you want to write and make notes on what you already know that you want to include in your novel. Here are a list of some things that you can begin thinking about or plotting out in advance. Start by creating your book's premise, which basically tells about the character, their goal, and the conflict they'll encounter. You can begin sketching out your character's goals, flaws, conflicts, personality, backstory, and all the other elements you need to know about your character. You can decide on your settings, which doesn't just include the places or locations, but also the era and the seasons. You can begin to identify what's going to happen at different major plot points within the story. You can go as far as to summarize what's going to occur in each chapter. And this is the level that I plot at so that I am never stuck on what needs to be written when I actually sit down to write. Now, of course, if you're a pantster, that may be too much detail, and that's okay. You gotta do you. Now, you might want to consider grabbing the Romance Author's Novel Organizer to help you take your romance from idea all the way through to a selling novel. The Romance Author's Novel Organizer is filled with checklists and planners and all sorts of things to help you with your writing project, including plotting. And you can buy the print book at Amazon.com, or you can get a digital PDF version that you can download and print from Write with Heart, and I will have links to both of those in the description below. The third thing you need to do to prepare for NaNoWriMo is to create a schedule. Now, one of the most common reasons I hear people say that they aren't getting their writing done is that they don't have time. But to be successful at NaNoWriMo, or just writing in general, you can't find time. You have to make the time. Now, when it comes to writing for NaNoWriMo, you don't need a ginormous pocket of time. You can use several little pockets of time each day. For example, to write 50,000 words in a month, your daily word count goal is 1,667 words a day. Now, you can sit down and write those 1,667 words in one sitting, or you can write 500 words in the morning, 500 words at lunch, and 667 words in the evening. And if you know exactly what you plan to write when you sit down, each of those little bits of time should take you only 20 or 30 minutes. Another option is to write 900 words in the morning and 800 words at night. And again, if you know what you're planning to write, each of these sessions shouldn't take any longer than 30 minutes. The next thing you need to do to prepare for NaNoWriMo is to have a writing space. And with Wi-Fi and laptops, you can write just about anywhere, whether it's at your kitchen table, on your deck, at the local cafe, or the library. But whatever place you pick, make sure that it is comfortable and inspirational. You want to have good lighting and a comfortable chair as well. The next thing you need for NaNoWriMo is to gather your tools all around your writing space. The only thing that you really need is a computer and a word processing program. Some people like to use writing programs like Scrivener, Ulysses, or Writer. These programs allow you to do more than just write, but also organize your writing, have research, and all sorts of other bells and whistles. And I will have links to them in the description below if you would like to check them out. Another tool you might like to try would be to use voice recognition so that you can speak your book. The great thing about dictation is it is a lot faster if you're someone who is low on time. And today there are so many speech-to-text options for you. Word now comes with the ability to dictate into the document. You can get something like Dragon Naturally Speaking, or you can use your phone and just speak right in using the microphone that comes with the keyboard on your phone, or use an app like Otter AI. And I have an entire video and article about how to use dictation to write faster. I will include a link to that in the description below. Other tools to consider having around you when you're writing are synonym or phrasing books, notebooks, any bookmark websites or apps that store your research. Maybe you need timers, pens, notebooks. There's all sorts of things. Whatever you feel you need to support you when you're sitting down to write, that's what you want to gather together. Next, you're going to want to put together your NaNoWriMo kit that includes everything that you're going to need to write and feel inspired. These aren't your tools. These are more of your comfort things. If you were to head over to the NaNoWriMo forums, you can see that writers have shared what they put into their NaNoWriMo support kits. Most of them have coffee or tea and their notes. Others have lollipops or other kinds of candy, a do not disturb sign to keep people away when they're writing, pens and pencils, and sometimes even a favorite shirt. And finally, to be prepared for NaNoWriMo, you need to get excited. Writing is hard under the best of circumstances, but writing 50,000 words in 30 days is a huge undertaking. During the course of the month, you're going to suffer from writer's block. You're going to be tired, and even worse, you may fall behind, which requires you to double or triple your daily writing count to catch up. But I want to remind you that it is a thrill to challenge yourself to try something new. So you've gotten yourself ready for NaNoWriMo, and November 1 is around the corner. So let's talk about how you survive NaNoWriMo. As I've already mentioned, goals can be really fun, but once you get started on them, the enthusiasm can wear off as the challenge really hits you. So the tips I'm going to give now are going to help you work through all that so you can be successful at NaNoWriMo. The first tip, and it's probably my biggest tip, is to know what you plan to write each time you sit down to write. For me, the most difficult part of NaNoWriMo isn't actually the writing. I can write 1,667 words in an hour or less. The hard part is if I don't know what to write when I sit down to write. As a pantser by nature, I've done many NaNoWriMos where I've hit a wall around day 8 or 10 because I didn't know where my story was going next. And this is where plotting helps. Now I know all the pansters out there are fussing a little bit, but even as a pantser, you can still plot your next scenes even if you don't know the plot of your whole story. And if you do get stuck, just write anything. In most cases, the act of writing will jumpstart your creative juices. Number 2 is to silence your inner critic and your editor. The second hardest part of NaNoWriMo is to turn off the voice in your head that begins to tell you that your writing sucks and your grammar is wrong. NaNoWriMo is all about the quantity and not the quality. Now, before all the people start talking about how writing fast is bad writing, I want to remind you that all first drafts are not publishable drafts. Everybody, whether they write their book in a month or a year or 7 years, have to revise and edit. My third tip for surviving NaNoWriMo is just to go, go, go and keep on going. I've been doing NaNoWriMo for many, many, many years, but I don't succeed every time. However, I never feel like a failure if I don't hit that 50,000 word mark in 30 days, because usually I've still written more words than I would have if I hadn't challenged myself. All that to say, if you fall behind, don't give up. Keep writing. If you have written something down, even if it's not 50,000 words, you've had success. Next, I would encourage you to keep track of your word count and strive to stay on pace, which I know is a little contradictory to what I said before, but 1,667 words a day is not so bad if you can stay on pace. Now, if you miss a day to stay on pace, you have to write 3,334 words, which is a little bit more difficult, and why I suggest doing your best to keep track of your word count and stay on pace. But even if you can't get your 1,667 words in every day, you want to keep calm. You want to strive to write something each day to avoid falling too far behind. Next, you want to enlist support and get a few cheerleaders. Let your family and friends know what you're doing so that they can support you, either by cheering you on or by helping taking care of tasks you might normally do so that you have time to write. If you need even more support, you can visit the NaNoWriMo forums or attend a live NaNoWriMo event. You can even join Write with Heart's Preptober Write-Vember Challenge, where we have an online support group and a weekly call. Finally, to survive NaNoWriMo, you're going to want to take care of yourself. Adding a big feat like writing 50,000 words in 30 days right in the middle of the holiday season is a little bit crazy. Your time and energy are already being pulled in all sorts of different directions. Your best course of action to survive NaNoWriMo as well as the holiday season is to get plenty of sleep, eat right, and get regular exercise. In fact, depending on the type of workout you do, that can be a great time to plot your next scenes. Now, if you would like more tips and help and support and motivation and inspiration, consider joining the Write with Heart Preptober Write-Vember 2023 Challenge. I'll have a sign up in the description below. Now, the challenge did start on October 1st, but it's not too late to join in and catch up. Now, the Write with Heart Preptober Write-Vember Challenge does coincide with NaNoWriMo to support writers who want to take that challenge. However, here at Write with Heart, the challenge is whatever you want it to be, whether it's finishing a book you've already started, writing a short story or your lead magnet, or whatever writing goal you want to set. Now, if you would like to read a text version of this video, you can do so at writewithheart.com, and I will have a direct link to it in the description below. Thank you so much for watching our video today. If you have questions or feedback, comments, or maybe you have other tips on how to prepare and survive NaNoWriMo, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, this is Jenna Harte wishing you peace, love, and happily ever after.